Are you ready for the ultimate bikepacking weekend adventure? Join us for an unforgettable self-supported bikepacking trip through Southwest Virginia. The Grayson Gravel Pie Bikepacking Adventure travels along the Virginia Creeper Trail, the beautiful gravel roads of Grayson County, Virginia, and the New River Trail. All lodging and camping arrangements are included, along with daily routes and guides riding along with you. This self-supported adventure offers resupply opportunities every 20 miles for your food and water needs. Find out more at graveltraveldirt.com.
You're listening to Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian.
I'm Joey.
You sleepy over there? Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Folks, this is episode 245 of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. If you're new here, this is the podcast where we talk about gravel bikes, adventure biking, bikepacking, bike camping. Tonight, we talk with Karlos Bernart down in Florida, and he's just down there playing bikes. If you do not know that name, he is better known in the bikepacking world as Singletrack Samurai. And if you have done any bikepacking in Florida or have even thought about it long enough to Google it, his name probably is something that you have seen. So we got a great conversation coming up here in just a little bit with Karlos. Before we get to that, make sure you remember to go over to the show notes. We got some great discount codes over there. Make sure to check them out. Joey, what's going on in your world this week? Anything at the bike shop magical happening?
Nothing.
Nothing? Nothing's happening. It's the dead of winter.
No, actually, our dearest friend Larry was down. I finished up Larry's build. We've been doing some projects. You know, I just came back from Florida, so I came back to a lot of work. Not a lot of work, not like it would be in July, but a lot of computer stuff has had me occupied.
It was so cold. It's always fun when Larry comes and visits us, and it usually centers around him getting a new bike.
Yes,
usually it will involve a ride. This time it was just too bitter cold.
It was the wind that
did it. It was the wind. It wasn't the cold. It was the wind.
It was like 25 out with a real feel and almost single digits, like 11 or 12.
It seems like all the cool kids are jumping on the Rodeo Labs Flanimals right now. Yeah. So I don't know what that means for me.
Larry is now on his titanium Flanimal.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first GRX 12-speed group set out of the shop.
Mm-hmm.
We put a dropper post on it. We put a red shift on it. He had his Revolve Terra CLs, which were a nice touch to that. New Pathfinders.
The Brooks bar tape.
Yeah, we did the bar tape to match his saddle. All the colors went well. I love the burnt orange.
Mm-hmm.
It just was like a chef's kiss build too. Like there's not a bad build out there like that.
Yeah,
a rodeo ride. Like there's not gonna be a bad Otto build either. Like when you're doing something like that, they're all pretty. And they're all different from each other.
Gorgeous bike. And hold on to your seat, Rodeo Labs, because if there's anybody can break it, it's going to be Larry. Steven said he's never had one come back as a warranty.
Titanium, yeah.
So hold on to your hat there, Rodeo Labs. We're going to see in about 6 months.
I think Larry had the intention of using it for certain things and uses the Diverge for other. And I think the more time he spends on it, it's going to be less on the Diverge and more on the Rodeo.
Yeah,
I
agree. Yeah.
It's got Monster Cross coming up. At first, I think when he first showed up, he was talking about riding his Diverge or something for Monster Cross. I'm like, no. And he might have said, I thought that's what we talked about. And I think at the end of the day, he was like, yeah,
well, he's going to get on that bike.
He saw the rodeo and was like, yeah, he's got so much clearance.
He's going to get on that bike, and he's never going to want to get on that Diverge again.
Exactly. Titanium or aluminum with a future shock or a titanium with a red shift.
Wow. Congratulations, Larry. It's a beautiful bike. You deserve it, brother.
Yeah.
And you're going to enjoy it. We've had a little bit of controversy, Joey, on the socials. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I posted the fact that our Whoopie Pie, gravel Whoopie Pie sticker showed up.
Yeah.
And there's been some conversations about Whoopie Pie origins, whether the rights to the Whoopie Pie and its origins belong to our friends in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Or it may have its roots deep in the woods of Maine.
No.
So,
first
I don't know. I don't have answers. I just have questions.
The answer is Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Our friends are Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is Mid-Atlantic. I don't know if those Maine people know how to talk right.
We just
whoopie
lost
pie.
Maine people still our friends. Please still be our friends.
They're not our main listeners. I like our secondary listeners. It is all Pennsylvania.
All Pennsylvania, all the time.
It is Pennsylvania Dutch whoopie pies.
Got it.
100%. I will fight someone.
Fight me. Fight me.
I'm not fighting you. I should have got.
No, you don't have to fight me.
Oh.
No, I was just trying to be funny. And speaking of Pennsylvania's, our friends up at Hush Money, it's this Sunday, are having a very cool event at the West Art Center or something like that. It's in Lancaster. They're having a night of bikepacking stories from a father-daughter adventure on the Continental Divide, the Great Divide bikepacking route. Flint Ziegler and his 13-year-old daughter Scarlett spent 42 days in 2022 riding from Canada to Mexico on the Great Divide. They are doing this Sunday, January 28th at 8 p.m. at West Art. It's at 800 Buchanan Avenue. They are going to share tales and photos from their adventure. I wanted to give a special shout out to Nittany Mountain Works. They are sponsoring the event, so the admission to the event is free and no tickets are required. Check out any of the Hush Money places that you can find them on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, or websites. I'm sure you can find details about it there.
Well, unfortunately, it's past my bedtime on a Sunday.
Right.
They average 69 miles a day.
Yeah.
That's not easy on that route.
No, not at all. I was looking at the number of days and said 42 days because Larry and I are talking about doing it in 2025.
70?
And I was like, yeah, maybe 60, 65, 70 days. And then I see 42 days here. I'm like, oh. Like that's
awesome.
That is fantastic. Congratulations to Flint and Scarlett. And I would love also to be able to make it to something like that. But Joey is also past my bedtime. Let's do Strava Club. Joe, you want to check that out?
Oh, man, these are some names I'm going to have to get close to my computer. Todd
sorry.
Wonderly from Fredericksburg, Virginia with 105.9. Wendy, is that cinnamon? Do you say it like cinnamon?
I would
or
say Kinnaman. I would say It's a K.
Yeah, I know, but I don't, C.
I would say Kinnaman.
Cinnamon.
You can say whatever you want to say.
I'm just being goofy. From Lake Worth, Florida.
Yeah, Florida.
With 146.8. And Jeff Wheatley from Brookville, Maryland with 125.5. We're only at 103.4 for the week, and we're up to, I think we're holding at 942 for members.
I think it was up a number. It was up a click.
Okay.
Up a click.
Now just search Gravel Travel Dirt on Strava. I wasn't close this week. I'm still fighting that. Like, I get about a half hour in on I've Zwifted the last couple days, so I can sit on a saddle again.
Good.
I'm sitting on my 3D printed power saddle. No, Roman Pro 3D. Anyway, I'm sitting on the 3D. It's very nice.
Yeah.
I went up a size, but I'm like 30 minutes in. I'm getting like a little back of the kneecap pain still. I started glucosamine pills yesterday.
Smart.
So apparently we had a whole container in the house.
So are you taking your beats too?
I stopped believing in the beats.
Oh, believe in the beat. Believe in the beat gummy.
I took Edelberry for a while.
Oh, that
and my doctor's like, hey, you won't get sick. And then I got sick in the fall.
Your doctor told you wouldn't get sick?
Even my doctor's like, hey, you should make some Edelberry concoction that you get to, like, find all the recipes and stuff on Amazon. So we got gummies. He wanted me to like brew tea and have it every day.
It's too much work.
I was like, aren't you a doctor? But
elderberry is a myth, but beets are the real thing.
I don't know.
Beets are the real thing. I'm telling you.
I take melatonin.
I take melatonin
take 10
too.
milligrams of melatonin.
Is it wrong to take melatonin and like a sleeping pill and NyQuil and?
Because do you take all that?
Sometimes I do, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's why you sleep in.
Sometimes I do. And that's why I nap in the afternoons.
Holy cow.
I take good strong naps.
I'm pretty exhausted because I've been up since 5:30. I Zwifted, I worked, and
you get
one melatonin, I sleep good through the night. I'll be in bed in a half hour.
You get up so early compared to what I do. I'm probably lazy. But I'm older, I deserve it.
Yeah.
I deserve it. I pat myself on the back. I deserve it. So we had this fantastic conversation with Karlos that you're getting ready to hear.
Yep.
What were some of the things that jumped out at you on that? I mean,
not that python.
There's a python story.
I think everything about Karlos is a character.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to meet Karlos in person.
Yeah.
And he's a big ball of energy.
Yeah, love it.
We didn't talk about his music and stuff and like all the fun stuff he does, but the amount of routes that the number he said he put together that's on Florida, it's fun to play around on a site and look at all the routes.
Mm-hmm.
And they crisscross everywhere. Some of them are ridiculous. His one, his Sasquatch story was pretty good, and that whole area of Florida being its own different ecosystem or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So he's just a fun guy. What
a cool guy. And it was so much fun, like you said, to get to meet him and then to have this conversation with him afterwards. And so folks, stick around for this conversation with Karlos. You will not be disappointed.
Nope.
All right, joining us now, let us welcome Karlos Bernart, who is better known as Singletrack Samurai. Karlos, welcome to Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to hang out more with you guys.
We're excited too. You are a big personality, and I absolutely love that. I love your vibe, man. It's just right in the wheelhouse of where bike culture should be, in my opinion. Having fun on two wheels.
It definitely was very amazing for me when I met everybody at the rodeo rally, and they were like, they all understood, they were right in the same frequency.
Yeah.
It was good.
That was a great vibe. So as everybody knows, we talked about it last week. Joey and I went down and did the Rodeo Rally Southern Migration, which Karlos organized and put together. It was a part of, I guess you dealt with Steven, and he organized that trip through you for a bunch of Rodeo Labs riders and their friends. That probably a pretty good, simple assessment of what that was all about?
Pretty much. Mike Smith suggested, he approached me while we were on a bike ride. We were doing an overnight, and he's like, hey, would you be interested in helping us run a rally in Florida? And then we did a call with Steven, and then we kind of got the ball going and bounced things back and forth until we found the sweet spot with everything in terms of the name of the event, and Steven designed the logo, which is really cool. That donkey flying is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, it was a lot of collaboration, and the best things just really do come from collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a solid combo.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what impressed, I think, both Joey and I, coming off of that, I mean, we're both Rodeo Labs fans. Joey rides one. I don't, but that's okay. They get the vibe. They know what's going on. But, that whole weekend, the entirety of the Rodeo Labs crew is there. There wasn't a sales pitch. There wasn't a let me tell you about our products or let you get on a bike. It was just bike people having bike fun. And I swear, I think that was just the most amazing part of it. It was just great.
For sure.
I think you put together a fantastic itinerary and routes, and saw a lot of old Florida. Really, really appreciate that.
Those corridors are corridors that we frequently use in some other routes. So it was a matter of just putting together the right combination to kind of, I was very nervous leading into the event because I really wanted to put on an amazing display of the cool stuff Florida has to offer.
I think you did it.
Yeah.
Even so, everybody who's listened to last week knows the troubles that I had with my Otso. And I think it was all the Shimano non-Rodeo Labs bikes that had problems 2 weekends ago down in
We were
Florida.
50 for 50 with our car.
And but even on the shortened day where I did that route that took us straight down to Lake Butler, then right out of Lake Butler, you guys went to the, I guess would have been the east side after Lake Butler. We stayed sort of to the west and went through a couple of small towns. I can't quite, the names of them don't, do you remember, Joey? It was Lake something. I don't know, but it was just super cool. The little Florida town is alive and well. It was just a really good vibe. We had a great time, even on our secondary route that didn't really have any, well, not much. We had a little bit of gravel, put a little gravel in it.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the hard part with the second day mechanical, was not getting to see the other part of the route. And then when I went to tell Karlos that we might be cutting it short, and then he's like, oh, you should drive to camp tonight.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't want to miss out either.
Yeah.
But we just chugged away.
I
want to miss it all.
We did the second day. We did the second full day.
Yep.
We got all the adventure in. And then even later, so I know talking to Matt, he was like, you're probably glad you didn't ride through the water because I probably would have been walking through the water, it sounds like.
Single speed wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
What time did you guys leave that morning?
We rolled out the first half a mile with you, like
Yeah.
8:20 something.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah,
if you remember, because we changed our route, we rolled across the highway and
I think you were like staring at us.
You were at the little grocery store, and we just kept going straight in the wrong direction. I think you were kind of scratching your head, going, "Well, they're going the wrong way."
I do remember, and I just I'm excited you took the way you took, because it wouldn't have been the best choice, especially with the way your bike was. But it was really great when you stuck it out. I was impressed with that. So kudos.
Yeah, because I think by the time you left Saturday, we were like, "Hey, we're going to head back to the car, drive back to camp, and drive and meet you guys at camp."
Yeah,
and then I think we met you like, I don't know, 20 miles in. You're like, "Hey, you guys didn't go back or something?" Like, yeah,
well, I think the decision was made as we were rolling out of the camp.
Exactly.
And Joey,
we didn't want to miss out.
Joey's an amazing. I don't know if you know this or not. Joey's an amazing mechanic, and if there was anybody that could get that bike to the point where I could do what I needed to do, it's going to be Joey. And
nice.
I think once he found that right gear combination, because I think first it was too light and I would have just been spinning and not going anywhere. He found the perfect combination and was able to kind of force that derailleur into the right place and make it work. So it turned out beautifully. I wouldn't change a thing. Wouldn't change a thing, Joey. Nope. Wouldn't do a thing different. Karlos, for some of our listeners who we're mid-Atlantic. You're down a little further in the southeast. I know you do some stuff that's bigger than just Florida. Take just a moment of time and sort of maybe introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Karlos. I was born on a little island in the Caribbean called Puerto Rico, and my father brought our family to Florida because he used to be stationed out of Cape Canaveral. First coming into Florida, I just really discovered I had a gift for kind of finding things. And as life goes on, I discovered a love for traveling under my own power via a skateboard. And then eventually I got into cycling because I just thought it was a more sustainable way to be an adult. I could see myself as an older person cycling. Yeah. I couldn't see myself as an older person skateboarding. And I got into biking. I went through the whole circuit. I raced cross-country mountain bikes. And then I got into endurance stuff and the 12-hour scene and the 100-miler scene. And then I heard about John Stamstad's riding the Great Divide mountain bike route unsupported. And I read that entire article. And one of my friends told me that sounded impossible. And, once he told me it sounded impossible, I was in. I wanted to learn how to bike pack, because that's what you had to do to finish this route. And that was 16 years ago, right when bike packing was, kind of in the beginnings of it. There weren't even bags yet. It was right when Jeff from Carousel Designs started making bags, and then back when Revolut was still called Epic, and then they, Specialized made them change their name. I mean, this is how long ago this was. Back when they still used payphones to check in while they started doing the Great Divide mountain bike race, they would use payphones and make recordings. So, I was so fortunate to be able to jump in to the sport right at when it was beginning. And in order to prepare for this challenge that I wanted to complete of riding the Great Divide mountain bike route, I started creating routes in my local area, mixed terrain routes. We would drive everywhere here. Florida off-road was you drive somewhere, you rode single track, and then you got back in your car and went home. Okay. And I started I want to ride to the ride. And I started doing that and making connections. I remember the first time I rode across the Ocala National Forest, people would tell me I was going to get killed by meth heads. So when I rode across that first time by myself, number one, it was freezing cold, kind of like this past weekend. And then number two, anytime I saw a car, I would hide in the bushes because I just was terrified that I was going to be murdered out here.
Oh my God.
But lo and behold, nothing happened. I made it. And those little routes I created, I invited friends to ride with me, and they encouraged me to make more routes. And kind of to make a long story short, I started inviting people, and at first it was totally grassroots. Nobody paid anything. It was very informal. Here, you want to join, let me know. I'll send you the route. And that's how I operated for years. And at some point at the end of events, people started handing me like envelopes with money in them because they thought it was ridiculous that I was putting on these magnificent experiences for them to have, because that's what it really was about. It's the experience, right? The journey is the prize, right? That they felt it was ludicrous that I wasn't accepting any kind of money, and they started handing me cash. And that's when I kind of, had a moment where I was like, okay, maybe I should charge something, at least for the route information. That's always been my thing. Like what you're getting from me is the route info. And then that route will provide something more meaningful than you could probably imagine, right? You're going to go out there, you're going to have this great experience, you're going to have this great adventure, and that's going to be worth even more than the route was, right? That was the whole goal from the beginning. And to this day, that's how I operate in all my events. What you're purchasing is the route info. And then, and then the experience is the real reward. And then shortly after that, there were routes that I was creating and I wanted to go try them. And one of the routes I created was the River to Sea Loop. I invited people to come ride that with me. And then over the years, I kind of started developing a style and a method to running a group tour. And then that blossomed into something. I started making even more tours. I started putting on more group grand departs. We started with the Cross Florida individual time trial. Then we went to the Huracan 300, which is the most popular event. Then I thought, I could probably go north to south, and I put together the Florida Divide. And then I was like, you know what? I think I could go to Alabama. So I added the Panhandle segment, and then I created various little routes. And around, after all these years, maybe, just as much as I do, is when gravel or riding dirt roads became more exciting. I discovered that people really enjoy just riding the dirt roads. Typically, when I would make a route, a dirt road was a corridor we would take to get to that next bit of single track. Maybe it was a bike path. Maybe it was an old 2-track. Maybe it was an abandoned road. Maybe it was old brick road that's abandoned in the woods. We would take we would use those connectors to get to single track trails that I would find, little pieces of 8-10 miles, little spaghetti bowls, people call them, and you drop in and you're doing single track, and then you're back out on dirt roads or bike path or pavement again. And what I discovered when the scene kind of started growing, the dirt riding scene, and the point of view of the riders locally started to change, people started seeing that, hey, you can ride 100 miles and you're not going to die. That kind of mind frame change. You don't need a feed zone everywhere you go. You don't need, like they say, a juice box and a hug, right?
Exactly.
Once that evolution started happening, it became even easier for me, because creating dirt road routes was always easy. It was finding that secret trail that was hard. So then I really started putting out routes. And at this point, we probably have about 2,500 miles of routes. The entire state of Florida, you could travel from Alabama to Key West or anywhere really, Cape Canaveral, Tampa, St. Pete, Crystal River, St. Augustine, Jacksonville. Over the years, I've developed the route to the extent that using a combination of routes, you can get anywhere in the state following a mostly off-road route.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's kind of wild. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've been fortunate enough that this is what I do for a living now. I put on group tours, and I organize group starts. I don't consider myself a race director. To me, it's not about going fast. It's about going and getting there. I consider myself an adventure coordinator. I don't know if that's a title that exists, but that's what I do. I facilitate adventure.
I love it. If it's not, it should be. I love it.
Right. And that's pretty much the nutshell, as quickly as I could kind of give you the rundown on what I do and what I've been doing. And I've been fortunate enough now to be doing this for 15 years. This is what I do all the time. I used to pretty much work 2 full-time jobs, essentially, is what I did for about 12 or 13 years, was work 2 full-time jobs. And then eventually I was like, I need a better quality of life. And I just gave up the other job and, plunged into Singletrack Samurai as my sole,
nice
provider of what I do. And what the reality is, everything that I kind of generate, aside from helping me survive, goes right back into route creation, group tours I like themes. So I usually put on a group tour with a theme. The rodeo rally route, was a focus on like 3 different rivers. So you had the Ichetucknee, you had the Santa Fe, you had the Swanee, and that was really like the underground focus of the route and the reason we went in those directions and went to those places. To you guys, you saw the signs, and you probably remember seeing those names here and there out the corner of your eye, but you didn't immediately put it together.
Yeah.
And the interconnectedness between the springs and the rivers is wild. That's why that water was tannic at camp, because the rivers are at flood stage right now. So it like backfills the springs with sedentary, like the springs aren't clear right now because of that flooded river. So everything's connected in Florida. It's wild. Florida's a wild place. I mean, I could talk for hours about Florida and about putting on tours, and I don't want to, go too crazy.
That's good. Joey, do you have a question?
No, I was actually getting ready to ask you how many miles of routes do you have on? I'm playing with all the routes on your website. Did you say 2,500 or
500?
Yeah, like if when I look at my most recent list, I have like 65 different routes.
Yeah, I love the way.
Awesome.
I will as a fellow tour adventure coordinator. I love that. I might steal that. I may steal a lot of things from you, Karlos. Thoughts and prayers for you, buddy.
Thank you.
The thing that jumps out at me when I look at the routes on your website, there's just so many of them, and they overlap, and I could see where you could put endless combinations of those things together to get pretty much anything that anybody desired. You could probably build a route that would fit their needs. Am I correct in that? At least it feels like that.
I'm fortunate enough that I have a lot of opportunities to interact with individuals. It's a blessing. And the question I get a lot is just that, like, what route should I do? I start by asking them, well, what don't you want to do? Like, tell me what you don't like, and I'll suggest a route. And that bikepacking route page has only been up a couple years, and it really has room. I want to create collections and kind of make it easier for people to navigate that page. But typically, if people come to me for a route, because it happens quite a bit, especially now this year, every year it's been increasing. I think people are starting to get the idea that if they're tired of riding their trainers inside, they can just go to Florida for a week or two and have a blast. It's kind of like the word is spreading, which has always been like one of my goals. That was another amazing thing about the rodeo rally, was I knew that I would have a lot of the people that I want to come to Florida and ride, experiencing one of my trips. And I ask people, well, what don't you want to do? How far do you want to go? How long do you want to ride? Like, is there anything particular you want to see? Do you like caves? Do you like rivers? Do you want to, do you want to see the Kennedy Space Center? Like, all these questions. And then I can just suggest a route. There's a lot of prepackaged routes that include guides and resource files that are pretty, no-brainers. When people tell me what they want, I'm like, oh, you should do this. Right. Especially if they tell me where they start. But I've also, because of the fact that there's a network, I've also done a lot of custom routes. Like, okay, you want this? And okay, yeah, let's do it. I can help you do that. Yeah, exactly. Because you can see it, because you have that eye for maps. You can see that there's just tons of combos and all kinds of ways to do things on there.
Yeah. I love the model too. And I think we may have talked a little bit about this. So folks that understand, if you're coming from a mindset of that you've done something maybe with somebody like Trek Travel, or you've done a Backroads or a Wilderness Voyagers or Adventure Cycling, and it's that guided mindset, pretty much all of those tour companies are going to sort of, spoon feed you, literally. They're going to provide your food. You're going to provide all these. I love the model that you have. It gives people a comfort of having a guide with them, and the safety that goes along with that in a foreign space. But it really allows them to test their limits on the side of adventure, where you've got restock and resupply, and you're carrying your own food, and you're sort of doing this adventure yourself with a small safety net underneath of you. I just love that. I love that.
Yeah. My thing is it's a group tour. Like, we're in this together, where sometimes when you have that mentality of there's the guides, because I've been on those trips, and there's the guides, and here's your cook. Like, I've even been on trips where we have a cook, and everybody's like, oh, it's them and us. It kind of feels separate. Where to me, it's a group experience. Like, we're in this together. Like, I'm not afraid to recruit lieutenants. Like, I'll ask sometimes. I didn't do it this trip, but I'll ask people, all right, who has the route loaded? And the people who raise their hand, on their GPS, I say, okay, congratulations, y'all are my assistants for the day. Make sure you follow one of them. And then, usually my goal is, sometimes if I'm by myself leading a group, I'll set the tempo and then I'll drift back and let the group kind of go.
Yeah.
And rely on that itinerary for them to know what they should get and when. If they look at it, I still get all the questions, which is fine by me because that's what I'm there for.
Just looking around that group that we had at Rodeo Rally, there was a lot of folks that had tremendous amount of experience. At least I felt like there were people that really had a tremendous volume of experience. It was deep. It was deep.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, Joey, you have any questions?
No. I've been playing on the route finder.
I'm sorry. I was looking over at you and it looked like you had something in your head. Oh. Karlos, what would be, you talk about doing a lot of this exploration and finding these little hidden routes. What's like the coolest thing that you found and I'm assuming you do a lot of time out there by yourself, kind of banging away, looking at maps, figuring things out. What's literally the coolest thing you've come across in Florida? Kind of hidden.
My God, there's no shortage of cool things. I have 1,000 stories, but I'll share one very quickly for you. The first time I scouted the southern half of the Florida Divide route, which is the route that spans the entire state top to bottom. I first scouted that southern portion in the summer because that's when I was a single father, so that was the only time my mom could kind of handle having my two sons, was during the summer, which is a bad time to go riding in the woods and trying to camp is the summer.
Yeah.
And the first time I rode across Big Cypress, I was awestruck. I had the pleasure of having a thunderstorm to the east and a thunderstorm to the west. And since it's so flat, you can see for miles. So the storms are a safe distance from you. You're not in any danger, but yet, and I was kind of riding this ribbon of perfect, very gravelish terrain right in front of me, with the storms flashing off and on, and the giant bats flying overhead.
Wow.
And I had looked at the map and I saw a place called the Sasquatch Research Center. And I was like, man, I got to go there. They offered camping. So I went there and the guy, he had me give him a $20 bill and he's like, okay, go check out your camp. And if you don't like it, you can go, I'll give you your money back. The mosquitoes down there were so small and so fast that anytime I didn't have anything covered, my arm would be black with mosquitoes. It was wild. I'd never seen anything like it. I eventually had to bail to the bathroom and I had to sleep next to like some citronella incense so I could get any kind of sleep. The next day is when the interesting part comes. I get to check out the museum, the research center, and I meet the actual lead Sasquatch hunter. And he tells me this, oh, you're headed onto Loop Road, which goes right through the heart of the northern portion of the Everglades and the southern portion of Big Cypress. It kind of runs the line between the two. It's a very Big Cypress and Everglades have a very like wild, for lack of a better term, like Africa vibe. Like the animals down there, the gators aren't skittish. If you get too close, they will come. They will like defend their territory. Where up in Central Florida, the gators run away from you like roaches. Down there, no, you got gators, you got crocodiles, you have pythons, you have panthers, all living in the same habitat. Bears. It's very wild. It's a very wild place. And he told me that when I go down Loop Road to look for this spot where the river is flowing, the Everglades is actually a river. And it's clear water, clear as a bottled water. So super clear, crisp, spring-fed water. And he tells me, and you'll see the spot where you can go into the water and take a dip. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. There was 33 spots that matched this description. I did not know where to stop and have this swim at. But eventually I pulled over and I got my courage up. I was going to jump in the water. And right when I was about to jump in the water, about 30 feet away, there was a gator. It was a little one, though. It was only like a 4-footer. Yeah. And I wasn't backing down. So I jumped in anyway and got totally soaked and then jumped right out because I was afraid the gator was going to come after me. But But meeting that guy and seeing the Sasquatch Research Center was just something I would never in my life thought I was going to get to see. You know, just at that point in my life, it's just not something that I believed I'd ever get to see or experience.
Right.
And that was just one of those experiences and places that I encountered through my scouting and my riding.
It's the people.
Yeah.
It's the people. It's the people. I think that, you know, on a bike, you get to experience places differently than you could sort of in any other way. You're moving quickly enough to move you through a space, but you're not moving so quickly that you miss things. You know, you get to see things and be a part of things and experience culture from the inside.
Indeed.
So I think that's pretty doggone cool. What are some of your more popular routes? So say somebody's listening to this podcast and they, you know what? I want to do this. I want to go to Florida. I got some time off here coming up. What would be the process that they would follow if they were looking to reach out to you to make something happen?
I think the smartest thing that they could do, or the easiest way to do it, is to email me, Karlos at singletracksamurai.com, and that's Karlos with a K. And then we'll do like a little consult, and then I'll give them a suggestion on what they should do based on what they tell me. Now, if we were just going by routes that people have acquired and ridden, the Huracan 300 is by far the one that people ride the most. I mean, we have our group start coming up here in 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, and it's such a big start that the only other place in North America that has as big a start would be like the Tour Divide. So that's how big the start is.
Wow. Tour
Divide generally has like 178 to 200 riders. We're in about the same number range.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot of people ride that route. Most of the participants come from other places, and that, who knows? Maybe it's the timing, or maybe it's the fact that it was one of the first routes that was shared by Logan on bikepacking.com. Maybe that has to do with it. But something that maybe it's a combination of things. I think it has maybe to do with the river crossing. It's famous for its river crossing. Although it's an easy crossing, the mythology around it, how dangerous it feels, I think really gets people excited. A couple of years ago, I added a light version. The Huracan Light is a more, for lack of a better term, skinny tire focused route, something you could do on a 45C tire. And whereas the original Huracan route, has over 100 miles of single track. You really need a mountain bike. You can do we all know you can do single track on a gravel bike, but your hands are going to get pretty tired.
Yeah. You're going to beat yourself up a little bit at the end of the day. And both those routes, I think the light is 300 miles and the full Huracan is 340. Did I get that right?
Right. Yeah. Right now, the Huracan 300 is at 374. Oh. And the light is at 324. But this year, we're having a special edition. The light is staying the same distance, but the riders will do 393 miles this year.
Ooh. Okay. All right. I like it. Now, is that considered a race? Do they actually race that on the Grand Departs?
People do race and enforce me to score the event. Okay. I always emphasize that's not really the most important part. Yeah. But at the same time, and I've always been like this, to me, I want people to have fun. Mm-hmm. So if that's fun for you, going as hard and as fast as you can, riding all night long and not sleeping, then I'm going to be supportive. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to congratulate you. I'm not going to, just because I don't think that should be the focus, I'm not going to, exclude them. I'm still going to encourage them, still cheer them on, still report the times. I don't like to say who won. I like to say, I'm going to report the times in the order that they finished. That's what I like to say. I don't like to be like, you won, I more like to just say, I'm reporting them and then I even say that I said, this is based on the data they provided and what the tracker shows. Like, if anybody says anything, I'm like, it's right there in black and white. Like,
we very much follow that rides over races mentality here. We're not trying to set the world on fire. We're just having a good time doing it.
Right.
That's the way we kind of approach it as well. Is there a fastest known time?
The FKT?
Yes.
For the Huracan 300?
Is there?
Absolutely.
There is one?
Yes,
okay. I didn't know if anybody had tracked it or if it was.
No, I've inherited. This is one of those places where I am so happy that social media exists, because when I finally realized, like, oh my God, it's been 10 years, I should probably start writing stuff down. All of it was archived because I had posted it all on my Facebook, Singletrack Samurai Facebook page. It was all archived.
Right.
So I was able to go back and like fish it out and put it together. Currently, the record for completing the 374-mile ride is 1 day, 4 hours, and 5 minutes.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's fast. Holy cow.
The record for the light route, the current record for the light route is held by Austin Sullivan. That other record's held by Peter Kraft. I think he got 5th or 6th at last year's Tour Divide. So he was the first American finisher. Austin Sullivan on the light route, 23 hours, 56 minutes.
Holy cow.
And last year the route was 334 miles. So this year we took out some pavement, made it dirtier and a little shorter.
Nice. That's the way it should be. A little dirtier. We like that.
That'd be like a 5-day for me.
And you know what? We'd have a good time doing it. Yeah, right on.
Actually, I planned years ago, my in-laws have a place in the Villages. They're snowbirds. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to do the Huracan one year. And I was planning like 5 or 6 days.
Yeah. Now that kind of like is a loop. It starts and ends in the same place.
Shangri-La.
And it kind of is in that vicinity, right? The Ocala kind of.
Okay. It's not far from the Villages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Joey, you can do it. You still got this.
Oh yeah, no. I was just saying, I'm impressed by the 1 day and 4 hours.
Wow, that's wild.
The slow record is like 7 days. So if you do it in 5 days, you're still not going slow enough.
We could go for a slow record, the slowest known time.
SKTs.
The SKT. That's what we're after over here. Hey, Karlos, if folks, we've given the email address, and I'm going to put all this stuff in the show notes, but throw out for us the website address, the Instagram, all the places that you love to get contacted so that people can find you. And I'll put links to all of them in the show notes too. But
absolutely. I encourage folks, if they want to keep up to date with me and see the latest content that comes out, they should follow me on Instagram at Singletrack Samurai. I also have a Facebook page with the same name, Singletrack Samurai on Facebook. My website is singletracksamurai.com. That's about, those are all the details. Hit me up. I always respond. If I don't respond right away, it's because I am on a bike trip, which I do a lot of.
Nice.
Did you say you run 17 or 19 trips a season?
Last season we had 18 events.
Jeez, yeah.
But not all trips.
Okay.
About 7 of that is group starts.
Okay.
And then I started doing overnighters to kind of get people to come. And then I do put on some day rides. Next weekend is the Naked Indian Ride, which was the first route I ever made. End of February is the Death Loop, which was the second route I ever made. And those are just day rides. And then I put on a lot of dirt road day rides. So a lot of the cool stuff, like some of the cool stuff you rode last weekend, in that general vicinity, we have a couple of really amazing 1-day dirt rides that are doable. Like they're 100 kilometers or less. Generally, we do have some 100 milers and some 150 milers, but in that same mix, we'll throw a shorter route because I want everybody to come out. I like giving people options. I'm good with that.
Yeah, you got to have those. That it's not about distances. It's about getting people out there.
Yeah,
more butts on bikes. More butts on bikes. And then of course your email address, Karlos@singletracksamurai.com. I think you mentioned that earlier is a great way for people to make that initial contact with you. Well,
absolutely.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I hope we stay in regular contact, Karlos, because I love what you're doing down there.
Love to come back down.
Love to come back to Florida. Like I told you, my daughter's in Orlando, so I spend a lot of time down there. So you never know. Might show up again sometime.
Anytime you shout at me and we'll do something fun. Florida is an amazing place. We don't even have to do bike stuff. I could just take you, show you where the rapids are, show you where the caves are, show you the cool beaches, show you the secret spots. You want to see gators? I could take you to places where you can see a bunch of gators.
It's funny. When my daughter first moved to Orlando, I would bring my bikes down and I would ride, I would bring a road bike because it was the lightest bike to travel with. And then one day I brought my gravel bike and ventured out onto Lake Apopka, and it was like, oh, I'm just bringing the wrong bike to Florida to see alligators because this place is freaking full of them. Just everywhere you went. And it still shocks me to this day that you can just ride your bike down that little path next to a piece of water and have a 12-foot alligator laying next to you. I like to hear what you said though with the Central Florida gators run away from you like roaches.
They do. They scurry. That whole Lake Apopka area is part of the Huracan, both routes, right. The light and the original.
Yeah.
And when we first mapped it, it wasn't even open to the public yet. They had a lot of the infrastructure out there, and they didn't even have all the trailheads built. So that place has evolved like you wouldn't believe. It's changed so much in the 14 years that we've been traveling it. It's kind of wild to be around that long to see that change.
It's cool. It's cool. Hey, Karlos, you want to stick around for some this or that's with us?
Yes,
Please.
I would love it.
Absolutely. Okay, here's the order of operation. I'm going to throw two things out against each other. Karlos, you're our guest, so you get to pick first. Make your choice. You can defend your answer, or you can choose to not. I will answer second, and then Joey will come in at the end and muck it all up. So the first item for you, Karlos, is Florida in the winter or Vermont in the summer.
My God, Vermont in the summer. All day long.
All day long. Because it can get cold in Florida in the winter, but Vermont in the summer. I am right there with you. And I threw this in there because, Karlos, we both talked about this. We both spent some time in Vermont last summer on our bikes, and we talked about how magical a place it is. So I'm definitely also, even though I love Florida, I'm going to go with Vermont in the summer. Joey?
Well, I've never done Vermont. If it's still there, didn't it get washed out?
It almost did over last summer.
But I really love Florida in the winter.
Yeah.
Even when it got into the 30s while we were sleeping, it was still very nice.
Yeah, because it was like in those single digits here.
Yeah.
So it was very nice. Even when we were cold, it wasn't nearly as cold as it was here.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Okay. Second item, a mountain bike on a gravel road or a gravel bike on single track.
I'm still going first?
Yep.
I'm going to say mountain bike on a dirt road.
Okay. You know what? I'll say the same thing. I'll go.
You hate mountain bikes.
I hate mountain bikes because I've got very botched up hands, Karlos. I've had some issues with my hands, and I used to love the mountain bike, but I just can't. I can't do it anymore. It's kind of one of the things that really brought me to gravel, quite honestly. So I'd rather have the mountain bike on the gravel road than deal with the terrain of the single track on a lesser bike. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me. I could defend it any way I want to, Joey.
Could you?
Yes, I can. What would you do, Joey?
That's tough because as a mountain biker at heart, it is fun taking the gravel bike on single track sometimes.
Yeah.
It is.
I see people overbike with a mountain bike on gravel, and I'm never jealous of it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I see people having fun on single track with a gravel bike, and I am jealous of it.
I did that last summer. You know Markham Woods, Karlos?
I do.
I took my gravel bike back into Markham Woods, and it was actually kind of fun. It was right off of a little bike trail, and I kind of dove in for a little bit. It was fun. So, okay. Third item, alligator in camp or a python in camp?
Oh my God!
It's safe.
I say python in camp because we need to eradicate the python. So a python being in camp gives me a chance to. If I'm in python country, I'm gonna have a machete. I always go with a machete in python country, and if there's a python in camp, I'm gonna have to kill it.
Kill it.
It's a problem.
You wouldn't want to kill an alligator. Alligators are they belong there. Pythons don't. So
exactly.
So, let's see. If we were in one of those places where the alligators ran away from you, I think I would prefer the alligator in camp. Python, that seems really scary. I mean, I guess if you've got 10 or 12 people, we could all attack the python with our sticky knives and kind of do away with it. Joey, where would you be?
I want to be with Karlos with his machete.
You want to be behind Karlos?
Oh my God, no! I hate snakes. Like alligators don't bother me.
No,
in a sense of python. Yeah, no, I'll take the alligator.
Yeah.
You never know. Like alligator could be nice.
Pythons get big.
That's what I mean. I'm like,
it's scary. I don't have anything to do with that. And if there's little ones, that means there's a bigger one somewhere around too. so I don't want to have anything to do.
Yeah, no pythons. I would hang out with the alligator.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't be
Buzz.
Chubbs Peterson, but, you know.
Okay. Last item on this week's This or That. Buc-ee's or any of the above. Sheetz, Rofo, or Wawa. It's like not even a choice.
It's really hard to compare those two because Buc-ee's is like a mega store. And I don't think, I think Wawa wishes it was a mega store, but it's nowhere near. It's like the quarter of the size.
Uh-huh.
So, man, I got to go with, you guys call it Buc-ee. I call it Busey's. We got to go with Buc-ee's.
I call it Bussies.
I'm right there with you. It's an amazing store, honestly. It's quite an amazing store. And I really do hope that they take care of their employees as much as it looks like they take care of their employees. It looks like they're paid well. They're always happy when you go in there. So I think they probably do have a corporate culture that supports those employees. So I certainly hope they do. So I'm going to go with Buc-ee's. Joey?
Yeah,
Buc-ee's.
Bussies.
Okay.
That's hard to beat. I mean, this is the most controversial thing we've always talked about was the gas stations, Sheetz versus Wawa.
Yeah.
But there's something about that place.
Yeah.
Like it's been so popular. Like my wife Jess is like, let's go down and
just go visit the Buc-ee's.
There's probably people out there that within a driving distance will go.
Yeah, probably. I would go just for the beaver tail or the peach muffins. I'm not a big beef jerky fan. They've got a lot of it, but
but that brisket sandwich would be good on my backup.
Taste
bike
packing. Taste the good.
A nice sandwich in your bag.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, especially on a cold day. Could you imagine a warm brisket sandwich in your jersey pocket?
Oh yeah,
that would be magical.
Yeah,
that would be magical.
Indeed.
Okay, folks, it's about time for us to shut this down for the week. Carlos, one more time, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us and leading us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, gentlemen. I look forward to listening to your podcast.
Right on.
And thank you for
talking to you guys again soon. And I wanted you to know one thing, Brian.
Yeah.
I got my Flanimal today. I ordered a Flanimal. So
yep. I thought
now you're on this call. You're the only one without a rodeo bike.
Oh, I'm so left out.
You have to send some pictures.
Please.
We'll
please,
do.
Please.
I'm gonna get it built up, and I'll send you. I got a frame set because I like to fine tune the design.
I don't believe in buying bikes complete.
Nope. We've all I think there reaches a point in a cyclist's life where they're beyond buying a complete bike.
Yeah. And
you buy group sets, and you buy components, and then you buy a frame, and then you buy wheels, and so congratulations on that. You're going to love it.
Bike day.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it. Thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. If you've enjoyed the podcast, maybe consider joining us on our Patreon family. We really do appreciate all that support, and your monthly donation of just a couple of bucks helps us keep things going. Joey, how can folks get in touch with us?
People touched me at the rodeo rally, and I'll be at Monster Cross and the Haunted Croatan coming up. As Carlos has deemed it, the Haunted Croatan. Otherwise, we're on the gram at Mid-Atlantic GTD and our website's graveltraveldirt.com.
Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt is recorded this week from right here in Blake's Kitchen all the way down to, where are you in Florida, Carlos?
D-Land, Florida.
D-Land, Florida. Thanks for riding along. Until next time, do good, be nice, go slow, respect others.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.